Hello and welcome to the new year. My name is Jerry Hendricks.
And I'm T. Hamilton.
And we're here with First Baptist Church podcast, YouTube, Facebook. We're here to share some time with you and kind of fill in the gaps. We've been gone for a while.
Yeah, last Wednesday we had chamber coffee, and honestly, it wasn't until about Thursday that I figured out we hadn't done this.
Well, we did talk about it early.
Yes.
And we sort of planned on it, but not really.
Exactly.
So it never happened. Sometimes life, the busyness and our schedule kind of gets in the way, and we don't always get to do this, which I hate because the Nehemiah study's been really good.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, Teek, that's a really nice T-shirt you're wearing.
Thanks. It's our T-shirt for Wednesday nights.
And it all starts when?
It starts tonight at 6 o'clock, third floor, whether you're a kid, youth. Our theme this semester is Rise Up. And for most of the semester, we're going to look at the wisdom literature, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, all that. But during Lent, we're going to study people God raised from the dead. And so Rise Up
That's awesome.
fits with all that. The wisdom literature, how we live a rise up life based on what we find there.
Yeah.
And every time I look at the shirt, I think about Rise Up. I think back to camp and our friend Cody Favor.
I just thought of that when you said that.
Letting everybody know that if you say Rise Up Lights and you say it with a little bit of an Australian accent, it sounds like razor blades. Rise Up Lights.
It does.
So
I may have to watch that video this afternoon.
it's kind of funny. It makes me laugh. And now I'm having a double thought. I hope it wasn't Wes Henson that actually did that. And I gave credit to Cody.
No, it was Cody.
Okay, good. I feel better now.
Shout out to Cody Favor and to Wes Henson, our good friend. We did do a theme a couple of years ago at camp called Rise. Mm-hmm. And one of the things in working on that, the Rise Up or Rise theme is used by a lot of people for a lot of different things.
Right.
When you shared with me what we were going to be doing, I got real excited about that. And then the other challenge is to come up with artwork that reflects that.
Yep.
And that's distinguishable from all the others that are out there.
Yeah, because there's not really a picture that goes up in your mind except for arrows. And so then you got to make the arrows look good. It's kind of like the year we did noise at camp, and it's really hard to visually do noise.
Yeah, and invisible.
Yeah, invisible. That was really hard.
But I'm excited about tonight, getting everything kicked off. We'll have Bible study and prayer time together with adults on the first floor, mm-hmm. choir after everything, our worship choir after that. And so
7 o'clock.
A lot of good things going on. It's always fun to get the semester started. Mm-hmm. Each semester has sort of its own rhythm, yes. And this one is really, its hub of this semester is spring break and right. Easter and the Lenten season.
Right. It's just a weird semester, too, the way, because we've got 2 different weeks of spring break. Then you put in our block party in there, which normally that falls right after spring break, which this year we're going to put that on April 1st. How fun is an April Fool's block party going to be? When people show up, they're not sure if we're really having a block party.
Are we having it?
So we might not tell them where it is, or we'll tell them the wrong location and be like, April Fools.
Good one. So. Tell them it's going to be at First United Methodist.
Oh, that way they
Well, no, that's too close. We share a parking lot.
First United Methodist, Abilene.
We'll make something up that works a little bit better. Hey, the last few weeks, we've started this series to start off the new year with sort of a 2020 focus, mm-hmm. Getting our life on track, getting our church on track. We've called it Mission 2020.
Right.
And I thought since we haven't talked in a while, we might talk about things that we missed. Or let's better said, or more accurately spoke, is things I goofed up on. Okay, last Sunday, we were so excited, or I was, it was the first time that we had someone read Scripture and light the Christ candle.
This
year, we do light the candle from Christmas Eve all the way to Good Friday.
Right.
And the previous 2 weeks, it was pre-lit prior to the worship service, and then we read Scripture in the middle.
Right.
So this week was the first time. Your sweet wife, Stacy, comes up to me before we started service and said, the candle's already lit.
Because she was the one supposed to
be
lighting it.
She was supposed to light it after 2 songs and a segment in there in our worship service. So that's the most recent thing that I missed.
My favorite part of that was the image of you blowing out the Christ candle right before worship.
Jesus is
not invited yet.
It was one of those Sundays where you were hoping that everyone was engaged in conversation with one another.
And not watching.
A lot of times you feel like when you start worship, it's sort of an interruption to the good fellowship that's going
right.
on. Well, Sunday I was hoping that was really working to my advantage. So the other thing is, I began to wonder yesterday, No, it was Monday in our conversations, whether or not I ever said Hezekiah instead of Nehemiah.
Right?
I don't know if I have or not.
I don't know. I know you did in staff meeting, and it threw me off for a second. And I was like, wait, what?
It used to be an old Bible drill trick that you'd call out a scripture from Hezekiah, and then, of course, everybody's stumbling around or trying to find it. And just FYI, our hot tip here, it's not in the Bible.
No, he's a king.
So it's not a book. It's not a book of the Bible. So, but I struggled all along with the different names. I'm not, when you're preaching the Gospels, they're really common names.
Right.
And you get in the Old Testament and you got all these different names. And anyways, I thought there's a possibility over the last 2 weeks that I've blown it.
I'm going to say if you didn't the last 2 weeks, you're doing it this week now.
Yeah, probably
It's going to happen. You might as well just lead with that.
Probably so. Then the one that we know that we missed on the very first Sunday is that I kept having trouble saying 2020 because I wanted to say 2020.
Right.
And in the middle of that, somewhere, I said 20,020.
Right.
And Stacy was good enough to call me out. So Stacy's 2 for 3.
Stacy pays attention. I think that's what we learned here today.
I'm hoping that maybe I didn't say Hezekiah because Stacy didn't
She would have
catch it.
told you.
Or I said it and it got by her.
No.
And he shout out to Stacy. But
every time we say 2020, like Barbara Walters goes through my head. That's an old throwback.
There are so many things.
Yeah.
And so anyways, we're having fun in this series. And I hope it interests you to know that we're going to revisit this series.
Oh, good.
Throughout the year, because one of the things we wanted to focus on was the word missioneering. In other words, moving into action and actually doing something. And one of the best ways to do that is not just to create and generate some conversation and interest in something that we feel like that we ought to do, but it's actually taking those steps, those action steps. So my plan is to follow up on this following Easter when we typically talk about the church.
Right.
There's a good time in there, a segment where we can come back and revisit this and renew our conversations and see where we are in different places. And then again in the fall, prior to launch Sunday, we'll have a couple of weeks where we can come back and visit it again. But I'm hoping it's something that sticks with us. And as we walk through this, it may be something, our way for us to identify our missional activity year to year. So anyway, we'll see how that goes.
Well, you wanted to do Nehemiah for like 5 years now. Now that you're doing it, you're going 2020 Nehemiah.
I can't remember if we've talked about that on the air. That
I don't know, maybe last year, but that was a long time ago.
I mean, it had been on my list to preach on since before I came. It is one of my favorite books in the Old Testament. I love the way that it sequences itself in terms of helping us to identify something and move into action. And so really that's kind of where we are. As we started the series, what we talked about was just this sense of call that there's something that's out there that ought to grip us, that ought to get our attention. And really, if it's going to be a part of purpose in our life, it gets the attention of our heart.
Right.
And so we just ask one simple question, and that question is, what is it that you notice that others ignore or hasn't had attention?
Right.
And then of those things that you notice, what most captures your heart?
Right.
And it's given us a couple of ways to identify and talking to people about certain things that they're seeing, that they're observing. I believe the accountability of it creates opportunities for us to, if we're not seeing those things, to know that we're together looking for those things. Right. So that's where we went for the first week. Then last week, what you started to see was Nehemiah got to that place where he was putting his plan together. And we don't really know exactly when that plan emerged. More than likely, it didn't emerge on the spot.
Right.
But it emerged over time, and then when the time was right with the king, then he was able to share with the king what was on his heart, and so he was enabled to go. And then this Sunday we're in that section where he's actually going into Jerusalem, and he's beginning to take certain action steps to ready himself and the people for what's going to be next in terms of rebuilding the walls around Jerusalem.
You talked about the first week. I think it was the first week because I didn't get to see much the second week. about the order that they were focused on the temple and not the walls.
Right.
And it just thinking now, you think about David and Solomon, that David wasn't allowed to build the temple. That was going to be Solomon. David was the one who was securing the preparation to build the temple. So they kind of did it, the people at Nehemiah's time did the opposite of what David and Solomon did.
Yeah. It may be, I don't know if you have you can share a thought on that, why that might be. My guess is that as time moves on, that temple becomes more and more sacred and more and more of a priority.
Yeah.
And really the centerpiece of religious life.
Yeah, I think even by the time you get to Jesus and the woman at the well, they're trying to figure out, well, you're supposed to worship where? Well, God's everywhere, not just located in the temple, but they had moved to that where it was important, and that was where they were going to be.
Well, and then in some ways, when you look at it and thinking about what that means to contemporary culture, you're trying really to kind of dismantle that to some degree or another, and not in a sacrilegious way,
right?
But it really just trying to dismantle our thoughts, our preconceived thoughts about the centrality of where God works,
right?
And a part of that is that sometimes the focus of our culture can be on the church building,
right?
And that
instead of on us being the church,
right? And that would be the contemporary example of what that might start to look like. But it's interesting. He goes in and does a little spy work this week. And,
nice.
So there's some of that.
That goes really good with the video, the bumper video.
Oh, yeah. Y'all should check that out on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I'm proud of our guys for putting that together.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell them what it is. They got to look.
There you go. Anyways, that's kind of where we're headed this week. And then following this Sunday, basically we're talking about something capturing your heart,
right,
developing a plan, and then bringing the plan to fruition with others.
Right.
And I believe that sets in motion for each one of us a pattern for how we might look for missional activity in our own life, so that we express that in some way. It's not just something that we only notice, but we actually take action on. So that's going to be fun. And then the last Sunday in January, which will be in two more Sundays, we have a guest speaker. Nathan Adams will be here.
I've heard that name somewhere.
Nathan's quite famous among us.
Yes, he is.
Nathan is the missions pastor at Pioneer Drive in Abilene, and he was our children's camp pastor this summer. So a lot of our kids and our sponsors know him. So that's going to be real fun to host him. I got to meet with him yesterday and talk a little bit about that. We do try to excel at hospitality when these guys come in, and treat them well, and really help. Give them the opportunity to raise the bar for us.
It's always fun to watch when a camp speaker comes and preaches for us, to see the students' reactions. Because when Casey came and spoke, he comes up to the youth area and all the kids are like, I recognize him. Who is? Because he wasn't in his normal camp clothing. He was in preacher clothing. And so it'll be interesting to see how the kids pick up on Nathan. I've seen him before.
I hadn't thought about that our last guest was also associated with youth camp in that case. But anyways, we're excited that Nathan's going to be here. I'll be on a little trip. It's my basketball trip. We haven't gone in a couple of years, and this one's going to be a big one. Probably the most notable of the stops will be we'll watch a Duke basketball game. And so me, James, and one of our friends from Texas City, Ronnie Hazard.
Historically, all your stops are going to be really notable. Just the best team right now is going to be Duke.
Yeah, and I was texting the guys last night, and the ACC's not doing very well.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing 4 ACC games.
What a weird year.
I know. North Carolina, Wake Forest, North Carolina State, and Duke are the 4 venues it will be in, and then come back and see
TCU.
UT at TCU. So
next year, go up to the West Coast Conference, see Gonzaga.
That's
Maybe they'll still be one.
Not a historic gym, but I'm all for going to Gonzaga.
It's pretty up there.
So, anyways, thanks for joining us today. We hope that you'll join us this Sunday. If you miss us, you can always find us on YouTube or on our podcast. We love having the opportunity to share with you kind of what's going on, what we're thinking about here, and how God's leading us and leading and guiding our conversation. So, anyways, hope to see you Sunday.
See you then.